Hey guys, today's August 22nd. I wanted to take a minute and do another quick garden update. This time of the year, it's mostly just harvesting. A lot of the plants are either just starting to produce, or in some cases they're getting near the end of their production. So just trying to maximize what we can get out of the garden. So I'll go over all these different plants and where things are at. Broccoli is kind of one of the plants that's near the end of its life. I do still have a few small shoots coming up on a couple of these plants that are still edible, so I'll get a little bit more out of it, but a few of them went by and I just ended up letting them go to flower for the pollinators. So I've got probably another week's worth of a couple of small meals out of these, and then those will be coming out. These two beds, I just never got the time to put anything else in them. At this point, the only thing I might put in them is spinach. Anything else at this point doesn't have enough time left in the year to grow and produce, so throw some spinach seeds in, but I don't know, I've got a third bed down there that's empty as well, and I don't really need 3 beds of spinach, so maybe 1 or 2, figure that out. Kale's still doing great, as always. The pole beans, in the last video, these were just mostly blossoms, and as you can see, they're really filling in nicely now. We eat these things almost every day. My wife loves them, I love them, my daughter's started to love them, which is great. So we've been picking a ton off of this, and you can see that even with us eating off of it regularly, there's still more all over the place. Some of these are getting a little bit bigger than I would like, but we're doing an okay job keeping up at those. Brussels sprouts are doing pretty well. Took me about another week after that last video I made to finally get ahead of the caterpillars and those little white moths, but you can see down in there, all these little Brussels sprouts coming in. Now, one thing I haven't done yet, I just haven't had the time. I'm going to hopefully either today or tomorrow get the time to go through, and at this point in the year, or actually really probably like 2 weeks ago, I should go through and snap off all these lower leaves, just like this. You want to do this all the way up to the point where you have maybe like a dozen or so leaves near the top of the plant left, and all the rest of these can just go in the compost bin. And the reason you do that is if you don't start snapping this off, the plant will just keep putting energy into the leaves that it really doesn't need to this time of year. You want it to shift all that energy over and start putting it into these Brussels sprouts instead, so they get as big as possible. The next step, once you snap them all off and some more time has passed, is that around Labor Day, you come through and you snip off, like if I were to do this today, I'd probably cut the plant off right about there. You want to cut off the top little bulb, the growth bulb, and try not to cut off too many of the little Brussels sprouts coming, but just enough of it that the plant figures out that it's not going to get any taller. And then between the bottom leaves being gone and that top growth point cut off, suddenly those Brussels sprouts will really start growing much faster. And you want to do that, like I said, around Labor Day, so that there's enough growth season left to hopefully get large Brussels sprouts all the way from the bottom all the way to the top. Otherwise, what you'll get is some big ones down at the bottom and then just little baby ones up near the top. So in the next video, I'll show you what that looks like. Like I said, hopefully I'll get that done soon. For some reason, 2 of my Brussels sprout plants kind of look like a pineapple. I don't know why. I've never had that happen before. They're just short, fat, and have these little awkward looking Brussels sprouts. So I'm gonna do the normal. I'll snap off the bottom leaves and see if we get anything out of it, but I'm not really expecting much out of those. All right, our cherry tomatoes. In the last video, these were all green, but there's a bunch of yellow ones. So these ones are done. That's a fully ripened one right there, and these are super sweet. These are just a great cherry tomato. At the moment, I don't remember the name of it, but if you look back in my earlier videos, I showed you exactly what variety these were. And then these are a black cherry tomato. Oops, sorry, the video's off. So the yellow ones are smaller, black cherries are much bigger, but these yellow ones are super sweet. The black cherries are very tasty, but just not as sweet as the yellow ones. But they're really doing well. I'll go over the other tomatoes in a minute. In this bed, peppers are still coming along. Getting pretty good size. Get the weed out of there. But these are red, supposed to be red peppers, so they still have a while to go before they start turning red. So I've got a while to wait on those. Got some flowers coming in, which are nice. And then, oh, these eggplant. In the last video, these were all just blossoms. But now, oh, I picked that one. Yeah, right there. These are, I believe they were called an Asian eggplant. And that one right there is actually about full grown, so I can pick that one soon. We've picked, I think, 3 already off of these, and we've got probably another 6 or so going between the 2 plants, so those are kind of fun. They taste really good. Let me step around. The plants are kind of overgrown everywhere, so I have to walk through carefully. So our zucchini and our cucumbers, they're kind of nearing their end as well. We probably still will get another couple of cucumbers out of it, but you can see the plants are kind of turning yellow and dying back a little bit. Same thing with the zucchini. You know, they're still growing, still have a blossom here or there. Still have one more zucchini that I'll be picking soon, but I probably won't get a whole lot more out of these. That's pretty typical. All right, the other tomatoes. You can see they're starting to ripen up. That one right there. For some reason, all of the tomatoes we got that blossomed very early and got started very early had a bad case of blossom end rot. I'm not really all that familiar with why exactly that happens. It's something to do with the moisture during the time that the blossoms get pollinated, and so it just ends up happening that right where the blossom was attached to the new tomato, like if see this point right here where the blossom is still left on it, that just starts rotting. In this case, this one is fine, but it starts rotting, and then as the tomato grows, the rot gets worse and worse and worse, and by the time the tomato is full grown and starting to ripen, only the top still looks like a tomato. The whole bottom is rotten. So I went through, I didn't notice it for a while, and then I found one that had it, and so I went through and picked off probably 20 tomatoes that all had blossom end rot. So all of our early full-size tomatoes ended up getting composted. So, but that's all right. We have a lot of other good-sized ones coming. You know, they're everywhere. We're going to get a lot. Also, I wanted to point this out. I have a 7, almost 8 foot tall weed growing in there. I just noticed that last night. I thought it was a tomato plant until yesterday. I took a closer look and realized it was a weed. So that's a good sign for some pretty healthy soil. And last but not least, carrots. We've had quite a few meals off of these so far. I wanted to show you some of the size of some of these carrots. For reference, let me get these out of the way. You know, that's my hand down next to this carrot. It's a big carrot. There's a lot of them that size in here. So we're getting a lot of carrots this year. I don't think we'll have enough to do any kind of preserving. I think we'll just end up eating on them until they're gone throughout the early part of the winter. But yeah, they're doing well in there. Lots of carrots. Pretty happy with that. All right, guys, I think that's it. Oh, I always forget just to point out the sunflowers. So the 2 different varieties, the short ones, which never really produced the heads they were supposed to, but they're still pretty. And then the big mammoth ones. That chain link fence there is a 6-foot chain link fence, so you can get a good reference of how big these things grow. I love those things. They're my favorite to grow every year. All right, now I think that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll post another update soon.